All right, joining us now is Alamogordo Tigers head football coach A.J. Cisco, coming off a big district win over Carlsbad. Coach, certainly was an up-and-down game for both teams, but you guys found a way to get out of there with a win.
We did, man, and it's good to be 1-0 after that first district game and starting that second part of your season. And started with a win and kind of set yourself up where you control everything else out in district is a good feeling for us, which we haven't had here.
Yeah, last year, of course, lost the game in Carlsbad, and it was kind of trying to crawl back. And, of course, this game last year in Las Cruces, kind of propelled you guys to making the postseason last year. And I know, recognizing that, this is, once again, every game in district is very important. So.
Yeah, and then we tell our kids, we talked a lot last week about how everybody's 0-0 in district. And this is everybody's shot, and everybody controls their own destiny from here on out. And to get it started with the win last week against a quality Carlsbad team, their record's not reflective of that football team, is very good for. It's a good thing for us to get going and get us on the right foot going into Cruces this week.
A lot of different guys had big games for you on the night. The guys that I feel like we mentioned a lot with, Anthony and DeAndre. Somebody I thought really stepped up was Michael Gonzalez. We haven't talked about him a ton, but boy, he had some big plays for you.
He did. He bailed us out and made some big plays on our little smoke screens and ended up breaking tackles and extending drives and had a big catch. And, we don't throw the ball down the field a ton, but when we hit those screens and we can get positive yards, we're hard to defend because we've got to play sideline to sideline. I
think we saw the difference in you guys having both Avion and Anthony at running back, what that can do for y'all, that you can, you're not overworking one or the other like you necessarily kind of had to against Riverside. So I felt like that made a difference for you.
It does make a difference for us because we've got two upperclassmen that know how to handle that situation. And they're both similar, but they're both different styles of runners. And getting both those kids back in the backfield, and then it lets us be explosive, lets us change the pace just a little bit. They're not huge, but they're not bruisers, but they're going to be shifty. And when they pop one, it could be over because they can both fly.
And Elijah, his name didn't show up a bunch in the stats, but him running that speed option in that game, boy, he made so many big plays and so many correct pitches to break big plays for you guys.
He does, and he's the leader of that entire group. He runs the show. He controls it. We talk a lot during practice about if he wants to check something, he gets to check it and move it to a different side based on what he sees. We're blessed to have him, and it's lucky to have a kid that's 4 years in the program, being a quarterback, a 2-year starter. He gets to understand those things, and he runs that show, and he's very good about taking care of the football this year, knock on wood. But running that speed option, we can put pressure on people, and he's not an elusive runner. He's not somebody that's going to break one for 60 and make house calls, but he can dang sure move the chains for us and force people to play a little differently against us.
Yeah, and having to guard, if it's Anthony or Avion on the outside, knowing that they've got to protect that makes it challenging for defenses.
It is, and that's something that we put in this year that we haven't ran. We've never had a kid, even with Elijah last year, we didn't have the confidence in him to run the speed option as well. And now going into senior year, we have a lot of faith in him taking care of the football, making the correct read, and he does a good job. When he gets a seam, he's going to go forward for 8 to 10 and make sure we're in a good situation or we're moving the sticks. And if we get the pitch, we pitch it, and we get it to our skill guys outside in space and let them run.
Defensively, again, forcing turnovers once again. Marcus and DeAndre each with an interception last week, and lots of other guys making plays, getting into the backfield. Because certainly it was kind of looking a little bit like Riverside for a little bit with the way that Mendoza was running the football on you guys, but y'all seemed to kind of get it slowed down and get it a little bit more under control as the game progressed.
Yeah, and Mendoza's a quality running back. He's good, and I think he gets lost in recognition throughout the state just because of their record, and he's a dang good football player, and he's one of the better ones in this state. And when he gets loose, he's tough, and that offense is tough to stop with him going and barreling down. But our kids made adjustments. Our staff did a good job defensively to make adjustments to get us playing better, to get us in situations, and our kid made plays. We got to do a better job of taking advantage of the plays that we make offensively, but I thought our kids defensively responded very well. Gave up the one big trick play, which is something I probably should have covered with our guys, considering Kale's a Goddard guy. That's a staple in the Goddard football program, to run that bounce pass. They call it Aggie bounce pass. But our kids responded to it. We didn't sit there and crumble, and we kept playing. And that's kind of what you've seen all year is our kids, no matter what, just keep plugging along, put their nose to the grindstone, and get after it.
And it's been all three phases this year. Again, you got another block punt. You guys recovered. What a huge, getting that muff punt and recovering it. That's one of those. That's a hustle play because there's 20 kids that are out there trying to go get that ball, and it's getting knocked 20 yards down the field.
It was very frustrating when you're watching. You're like, just fall on it. You can't advance it. Let's just fall on it instead of kicking it backwards.
Yeah.
But our kids play hard. I thought we do got to get better in special teams. We had a PAT, a field goal blocked, missed a field goal, had a PAT blocked, and then we don't execute when we block the punt. We'll go down there. We're running short on time, but we try to take a shot at it. When we get the big turnover, we go down there and punch it in and finally finish it. But we do got to do a better job, especially in the kicking game with PATs and field goals, of being able to execute in those situations. We can't leave points on the board, which is what happened last week.
Well, we talked about it going into the Carlsbad game, that Carlsbad was much better than their record showed. Las Cruces, maybe they are much, much, much better than their record shows with the early schedule that they played against Cleveland and Eastwood and Volcano Vista, and can't remember who the fourth
Americas.
was. Yeah, they're Americas. I always forget them, but we're talking about two of the best teams in El Paso and two of the best teams in the state of New Mexico, and I think maybe we're starting to see in the last two games what this group's capable of.
Yeah, this group's very talented, and this is a group with a lot of experience. They only graduated, I believe, 10 kids or so last year. And so these kids have a ton of experience. They did lose some playmakers. I mean, they lost a running back and a receiver that were very good for them. And the kid that came in and played quarterback against us was a freshman, and he's now a sophomore, and he can sling it, and he does a good job with that offense. And Coach Lopez and his staff do a good job offensively of formation, things, and they're very physical. They're huge. They're definitely not a 2-4 team of whatever their record is. They're a team that should be top 5, 6 in the state with the talent they have and how they execute. And they made a long trip to Hobbs, got lightninged out, had to stay the night unexpectedly, and then play a 10 o'clock game Saturday morning, and came out and played really well against Hobbs and put it on them. We've got our hands full Friday night here.
For you guys, it's the same things we've been talking about, and I think, the frustrating thing for you guys offensively was not finishing off some of those drives off of turnovers last week. If you can get that cleaned up, this may be a game where you guys have to score 30 to 40 points to go out there and win this one.
Hopefully not.
I know you don't want to, but it has the feel of the kind of points that they've been putting up the last couple of weeks. You're definitely going to have to
We're going to have to play really well defensively, and they've got an explosive running back that's a sophomore. They got a receiver that's a sophomore that's a stud that I think caught 2 touchdowns last week. Guardiola does a good job. Their old quarterback from last year now starts at safety, and they'll put him in there at quarterback and let him run, named Lashley. They're very talented offensively, so we're going to have our hands full defensively. We got to be able to line up correctly to all the different formations they're going to give us, and then just play and keep playing and keep playing and keep playing, and hopefully things go our way defensively. We create some plays. Offensively, they're going to play straight man, and we got to be able to throw the ball, and we got to be able to run the ball. And we've done some things this week to kind of take advantage of some things they do defensively, but we've got to be able to sustain drives, and we can't let their big bodies wear on us for 4 quarters, or we're going to have a hard time stopping them late in the game.
Well, and I feel like the offense is starting to gain more and more confidence in the last 3 or 4 games. Is that a fair thing to say that you're seeing there?
We are. And it's the same confidence that we've had when we started the year. We're just executing at a higher level in advance and being able to move the chains. And we're not going to hit huge plays all the time, but we've got to be able to sustain drives. And the big part is what we've talked about a lot is when we get inside the red zone is we got to be able to put points on the board and score touchdowns and at least kick field goals and continue those things. And we left probably 3 touchdowns on the field last week when we didn't score, and that game might be a different score if we can do those things. And going down into the district now, and we can't have those situations come up because we're playing quality teams the rest of the year out, that if those things happen to us, it can bite us in the butt. Hopefully more than 2 Friday games left in the season. You guys are in a mix now that if you win some games here down the stretch, that you can work yourself in a position to maybe hosting a playoff game. So. Yeah, that could happen, but we can't control what everybody else does in the state, and our sole focus each week is to focus on what we have in front of us, which is Cruces High. And it'd be nice to host a playoff game, but we've got to control what we do Friday night against Cruces to even have a shot at that, and then control Hobbs and then Centennial and then Oregon Mountain, and not worry about what everybody else does and who they play or any of that stuff. I would put our district up there with anybody else's in the state and quality of teams in it from top to bottom. I would say this district from top to bottom is as tough as any other district in this state from top to bottom. Even you go to Oregon Mountain, they're very talented. They're huge. They've just had their backs up against the wall a lot this year and have been in some bad situations. But Cruces High is not a 2-4 team. Carlsbad's not a 1-5 team. They can go play with a lot of people in this state. Everybody knows about Centennial, and Hobbs already went up to Rio Rancho and beat Rio Rancho. This is a very tough district, so we got our hands full each week. But we got to focus on Cruces High, and we got to play well and not turn the ball over. And everything every coach says is win all 3 phases and all that nonsense. But I'm excited for our kids. We're excited to get this community back on a Friday night. I was very pleased with the crowd we got on a Thursday night, and I know there was soccer games going on, and you got little league sports going on, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. But I thought we had a decent crowd for Thursday night, and we're hoping this place gets packed for Friday night.
Yeah, and certainly again, this is the next to last home game of the season, so I encourage the community to get out and make it loud and have kind of the crowds we had in those first 2 Friday games of the year.
Yeah, this needs to be a place where it's tough. It's a tough place for people to come and play, and our community's done that for 3 weeks, and we need to continue that going into Friday.
All right, Coach. Good luck this week.
Appreciate it, man. Go Tigers.